Good evening and welcome to the FFS podcast. I'm your host, Praddy, once again, and this is episode number 4 of season 1 of the Dressing Room series. Now, to those of you who are joining us here for the first time, the Dressing Room series is something that we started last year where we have guest interviews or interviews, one-on-one interviews with guests of the podcast or previous guests of the podcast, recurring guests, regular guests of the podcast. So we have them on here on this series, and we talk to them about everything but football, right? So we're not going to be talking about anybody's favorite team. We're not going to be talking about their favorite players. We're not going to be talking about the matches that they watch and all of that. We're going to be talking about their life. It could be from how we met each other, how what they're doing currently in life, what their future plans are. All of that is what we're going to be covering today. And the reason I suppose I started doing this is because, well, on a personal level, I wanted to get to know my guests a little more apart from just football, because I've done this podcast for the past couple of years and I just know the teams that they support and I just know the footballing facts or aspects about my guests, right? But it's just from a personal level, I just wanted to get in touch with the guests that I've had on the podcast, get to know a little bit about them. And I suppose I'm also posting this publicly so that for people who are watching this, you may probably have watched them in our normal podcast, and you probably have a perception of them or a first impression. And then this probably brings them probably closer to home in terms of you get to know them a lot better. You probably have more things in common than you thought. And yeah, I suppose if you do, then you probably can get in touch, all of that stuff, right? So that's the whole reason for this podcast. Now, for today's episode, we are joined by a very special guest, and her name is Mithila. So Mithila, welcome to the podcast once again. I'm glad to have you back on here. And why don't you tell us a bit about yourself before we start talking about your life in general?
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Praddy. I think I'm doing a podcast with you after a while, so it feels good to be back. So a little bit about myself. I am a semi-professional footballer out of India. I play in the Karnataka Women's League, and I hope to play in the IWL this year as well. I also have a full-time job at Sisters in Sweat. It is a sport-based startup for women. We basically are a sporting community of women, and we're based out of Bangalore. I head operations at Sisters in Sweat. I've basically lived and breathed football pretty much my whole life. I think I started football around 11. I played a lot of sport before that. My mom constantly put me through any sport that she could find. Swimming, okay, go swim. Badminton, okay, go play summer camps in badminton. So it was constant activity. I think I was sort of bred through sport, and I used to watch Doordarshan a lot. I think as I grew up, so that was my go-to for sport. I remember watching national games. I was watching. I think if you remember from the olden times, Neo Sports. Neo Sports was
Yeah.
the second place where I went to after Star and all of that, right? So there was Neo Sports, and I grew up watching and playing sport and being active. So I think it set a good precedent for who I would be later on in life as well. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I love music, I love movies, good recommendations on. And I've recently started reading some books as well. It's not like me, but there are some books that have caught my eye. So recently started reading some books, but otherwise, a good movie, good TV show, something that makes you think, something that's light sometimes. All of my favorites. I think like because of sport, I've started loving the outdoors as well. So either travel or text, completely my jam. But yeah, other than that, a good conversation is the way that somebody can get to know me well. So yeah, I think
Awesome.
that's why I love your podcast.
Yeah. So I'm hoping obviously brilliantly laid down what we're going to be talking about for probably, I don't know however long this conversation takes us, right? But I did start this podcast by saying that we're probably going to talk about everything apart from football. But since your life is about football, I suppose that will come into conversation. But we're not going to be talking about the teams that you support. It's obviously your
Yeah.
life in football. All right. So the way I start this particular series, or the way I've started it, and I feel like now I should just continue going on with it, is by asking guests on the podcast as to how we got to know each other, met the first time. Now, the past few guests, a couple of them have been in school with me, so I knew them from school. Then one we got to know through the podcast, and I suppose the same goes with you, right? We only connected via the podcast first.
Correct. Yeah, that's correct. I think you DM'd me a while. I think around the pandemic, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
I think we did a podcast.
That's me sliding into DMs. I just do it for football podcasts.
Okay. So I think if I'm not wrong, it was the US Women's National Team versus Netherlands podcast that we did. And actually, a little earlier than that, we'd met for the IWL preview.
Yeah, that's
in
what. Yeah.
2019. Yeah. Okay, that was the first one. Sorry.
So I think I came, like, I got introduced to you. I think was it Philarima who mentioned, because I had heard.
Philarima or Abrishina.
Yeah, because I think I had interviewed Philarima, I think before that, about the US women, the equal pay, gender equality thing. I think I'd interviewed her for that. And then I wanted to do something on the IWL, and I had Abrishmina on there. And then I asked Philarima, and she said, let me ask you. And then I got to then interact with you. And that was exactly that. Actually, if you to think about it, that was season 1. So that was not bad.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was end of season 1. Yeah, that seems like quite a while ago. But you're right. I think it was probably during the pandemic. And the reason I came to know about you, because I was watching a couple of the IWL games at that point. I think it was on Facebook, right? It was where it was being televised a lot. Yeah. And you were the commentator at that point of time.
I was. I mean, see, at that point, I was injured. I really wanted to play the IWL, but then, hey, I really wanted to be a part of it as well. So I just did whatever I could, and I got a commentary gig with it. I've never commentated before in my life. I just did it for fun at home to make fun of the commentators. But I turned out to be one in the first place.
Yeah, I think I suppose that it worked in your favor. That, see, normally when I watch football, I know we're getting into that territory, but when I do it, I normally mute the commentators. Yeah, not the best way to start. I do it. Yeah, unless it's like I'm watching in a pub or something and I can't. But normally I do that. Whether I'm playing FIFA on my PlayStation or something, I do mute it. Just because it just feels.
Oh, you're saying you mute it? Okay, I heard you say you listen to the commentators a lot. Okay,
no,
that was very anticlimactic for me.
Yeah, no. So I mute it because I don't want to listen to them. But the fact that it worked for you is because there was no crowd. There's nothing around. So and there's like, it felt very barren apart from the girls, the women playing football. So your commentary actually helped at least give some life to it. So that was nice.
I'm glad there was a little bit of life in that voice. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I think for me, whatever I have seen and heard of commentators watching sport as a kid, I think it just sort of came into fruition. And yeah, I ended up being a commentator, man. I mean, who the hell would have thought?
Yeah, exactly. I suppose that is somewhat of a dream for many of us, like, to watch football, to kind of commentate on the games that you're watching. And you're right. I think we do it anyway while watching it. Like, that's why I don't, because I have my own thoughts and I just want others talking in between. Yeah. All right. So that was probably the first time I got to know you. And obviously, since then, we've had you on the podcast for multiple times, which I am very happy that I'm able to have recurring guests on. I'm glad that I didn't scare you many other people off the podcast. Like, oh, this creep. No. You've tried your best though. I think over the past few times that I've asked you to come up with some sort of excuses. Like, I've asked.
Oh my God! It really wasn't an excuse. I have literally been.
No. I know.
Yeah. I am still in season.
Yeah. So so for those of you who, if you remember, I did the Euro 22 or 21, 22. No, 22 Euro.
Euro 22 this year. Yeah.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. I'm just lost. Yeah. 21 was
yes,
men's.
We are
22,
in 2022.
Thank you. So 22 euros, and Mithila was actually part of the panel, and then yeah,
Oh, that was so
and then
bad,
wasn't.
man. Just couldn't join that. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm glad that we could have you. We've had you on here multiple times, and yeah, like hopefully for the future. But now let's move on to apart from your hobby. So you've obviously given us a brief about what you like apart from football. Now let's talk sports, because you said like you were involved in various other sports activities and all that. So apart from football, are there any other sports that you religiously follow, or is it just football?
Follow, I mean, I started following the WNBA a little bit last year. And also, that was also because I followed Subird on Instagram and I saw a lot of YouTube videos of her, and then I got to know Vardhana Rossi, and I just fell into that bit of WNBA and just understood all the players. I watched the US women's Olympic team on the basketball court, so I think they were. I don't think anyone's ever going to come close to them for a while now. And I think recently also they beat South Korea or China, if I'm not wrong, 145 to an 89 or something. And that was
Okay.
the world record in women's basketball scoring. It was 145 points in the game.
Wow.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think I was like it was one thing after the other. Before that, I mean, I grew up watching cricket with my dad. The men's team, of course, I don't think there was a telecast for the women at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been watching cricket. I followed all of the multi-sport events like Commonwealth Games, Olympics. I followed hockey a little bit because India was doing well and it was just always very hyped. I think my mom secretly wishes I became a hockey player and my dad secretly wishes I became a cricketer. I became
Okay.
neither, so big disappointment.
Yeah.
but uh, but yeah, I think been following sports on and off pretty much, not too ardent or anything, but I used to be a crazy like I said, I think cricket, tennis a little bit here and there, the cream of the cream matches like the Nadals and the Federer's
Fair enough.
matches,
Yeah.
all of that, Serena Williams, all of that. But yeah, other than that, it was mostly football and cricket. Just now,
Okay. Yeah. I suppose most of the people that I've had on here were started off watching cricket because as Indian families do,
yeah,
we
we,
do.
we just do it.
Yeah, we like, okay, that's the only sport that's there in life, and then until someone introduces us to some other sport, it just otherwise it's yeah. I think
Yeah,
I
I remember. I think during the first IPL, or I don't remember when. I think Chennai lost to Knight Riders, the Kolkata Knight Riders. If I'm
okay. I mean,
I
they've
may be
lost
wrong.
multiple times.
No,
Yeah,
no, Chennai has not lost multiple times. We've won a lot.
yeah, yeah.
But I think it was one of the most initial seasons. I don't
Okay,
remember what it was, but I remember everyone being crazy about it, and everyone said, "Oh my god, IPL's here! We got to watch it." And all that. So, and that was also around the time when India was doing really well in the T20s. So I remember Yuvraj six sixes in
yeah,
an over. I remember that entire.
yeah. As a Chennai fan, I'm saying that because I know that we've probably
Yeah,
lost
we
quite a
we've lost a bit, but yeah, I don't
but
think.
yeah,
But we made the playoffs. I think almost every
yeah,
time. So highest team to
yes.
get into.
But yeah, I think even from cricket right now, I've limited cricket only to either the big tournaments, or IPL, and then the big international tournaments. The other normal ones, I just probably see the score and just be like, okay, fair enough. I can't sit down and watch, the full thing. It's just after football, I suppose that sitting down and watching an entire 50 over game is like, oh my god. If but I
Yeah,
suppose
it's a lot. It's a lot.
if it's in the stadium, it's a different ball game altogether. I've enjoyed myself watching the games at the stadium, but yeah, I think at home it's like
Yeah.
change channels.
True, but I think also the last 2 years, especially right around the pandemic and after the pandemic, I've been into women's sport a lot
Yeah,
more than men's sport, mainly because I think because of the increased coverage and for me
yeah,
to look at the fact that okay, shit, they're showing women's sport, and it's great because I couldn't watch it through growing up, and now I'm able to watch it. So I think women's cricket, I've not followed it ardently, but I like checking scores. I like checking the recent updates and
Same, yeah, same. Even for anything right now, like with women's football or women's cricket or anything, it's just nice to just
yeah.
check up the score. I wouldn't watch it. I mean,
Exactly.
football I would, but not cricket,
Not
not that
cricket.
much. Yeah. All right. So apart from now sporting activities and everything, what are your hobbies? What do you do to after you've done with Sisters in Sweat and after a hard day's work? What do you? How do you come back home and relax? Like, what's your go-to?
I think for me, like I said, a good show is a very
Mm-hmm.
nice way to unwind. I think I don't know why I found it very recently, but I only very recently watched Modern Family, and I've been watching
Oh,
it on
okay.
very recently. I don't know why. I was not much of a TV show person before. I think earlier it was Friends and the vintage ones, How I Met Your Mother, Friends, Office, and all of that.
Mhm.
But but yeah, but like, I saw that. Do you not like The Office?
No, I don't like How I Met Your Mother. I love The Office.
Ah, okay, great,
Yeah.
great, okay.
How I
No,
Met
I
How I
think
Met Your
The
Mother.
Office is better.
How I Met Your Mother. Like I wasted 8 years of my life watching that show. I kid you not.
No, I think The Office is better too. I think no.
Yeah.
So also, I never really liked The Office that much because it felt like a lot of effort, and I was so used to the noise at the background, especially the crowd laughter after Friends and even
Ah,
Big Bang Theory, right?
yeah.
So to actually to get used to the kind of humor in Office took me a little bit, but once you get into it, it's really fun.
Yeah. So what are you watching now
Yeah.
or binge watching? What's your
Oh,
current
I
show?
am watching the House of Dragon right now, and
Okay.
I'm
Nice.
also a humongous Marvel fan. All credits to my sister.
Okay.
So she's got me into this entire rabbit hole. I've gone through all of the Easter eggs. I've
Uh,
gone through all these um, YouTube breakdown videos on Marvel
oh
shows.
wow.
I've
Okay.
I've I've gone down there. Yeah, I've gone down that path. I'm all the way through. So I think I've not missed even a single Marvel show since the End Game.
Okay.
And so
Wow.
actually what happened was before the End Game, I had watched a few Marvel movies here and there, like Iron Man, Thor, Incredible Hulk, and Ant Man. Here shows here and there, right? But I didn't know the chronology behind it at all until Endgame happened. And then Endgame happened. I went back and saw all 17 to 20 of all of the movies. And then after Endgame, I got so invested in it that I didn't miss anything. I saw WandaVision, I saw Falcon, I saw Loki, I saw
That is
everything.
some effort. That is some
I
effort.
saw everything. Now I'm watching She-Hulk and House of
Yeah.
Dragon back.
Okay.
So
Uh,
She-Hulk is it's not great.
yeah. So the thing with Marvel is since Endgame, I think I have reduced my Marvel content. I've limited to the movies and a few TV shows because it just feels like a few characters. To be fair, I really don't care too much. So the thing is, I mentioned this on the previous podcast. What I do is I watch on YouTube reactors watching She-Hulk and all that. So and they show clips of it, right? Like while they're
Right.
watching the show. So I was like, okay, I'm caught up with that. In 10 minutes, I'm watched like, or 5-10 minutes, I've watched the entire like She-Hulk episodes. I was like, okay, great. I've just wasted 5 minutes rather than watch House of Dragons. I will commend you on that. It's a good
Yes,
show.
House of Dragon is pretty good.
Started well. I'm scared still. I have it's back of my head is like, don't be like Game of Thrones. Don't be like Game of Thrones. Um.
Yeah, no, I would say I think like don't be like the last three seasons of Game of
Oh, yeah.
Thrones. Till
Okay.
until the fifth season it was great, and then
Sixth
it,
was actually ended quite well.
it was not bad. But I think after the sixth season, the whole prediction thing started, fan theory started, and everyone just sort of got into the rabbit hole of
Yes.
that. Which is so
So
boring
I
as
don't know. Obviously, it's not going to be a spoiler for House of Dragons, but I don't know if you know. So in the first episode, they mention like a Song of Fire and Ice with the
yeah,
dagger, right? And
yeah,
I got so pissed because he's mentioning a certain character from Game of Thrones,
yeah.
and that was supposed to be his ending. That's the story of his life, and it
Hmm,
didn't happen. And I'm like,
that's
you
true.
mad? You like? why are you bringing this pain again? And I was like, I thought I'd been okay. I thought I'd recovered after watching it. And the fact that I detest that last episode even more. Like, a friend and I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning to see it as it premiered because we didn't want to wake. And
Yeah. I think in India it was around 8 a.m.
yeah,
If I'm not, yeah.
so it
Very
was,
early.
yeah. So any other? So are you a movie person or a TV show person?
I think I'm a little bit more of a movie person than a TV show person. I enjoy all kinds of movies in all languages, so I don't have any issue with that. I think all South Indian movies lately have been amazing,
Yeah,
especially Malayalam movies. I think are fantastic. Uh,
exactly.
yeah, I actually just started watching Kuruthi, but I haven't finished it yet. So
Oh, okay. It's okay. It's quite nice.
okay,
All
I
right.
haven't
So
finished it.
okay. So top 5 movies of all time, though.
Oh my God, no, I cannot do that.
Come
You can't
on.
make me do that. No, I
In
love movies
in
too much to be doing that.
in no particular order.
In in no particular order, I will give you like 25.
I have
I
time
love
for
movies.
25.
I love movies. No, no, no.
Okay.
So okay, I'll tell you. I think I think feel good movies wise.
What
For
is the
me, it's
genre that you normally go for, though?
not anything in particular. I just avoid the extremely gory stuff. But
Okay.
other than that, I'm good with. I would. I don't know. I mean, thrillers are great. Murder mysteries are great. Anything related with crime,
Yeah.
spy, all of that stuff is great. Rom-coms are always a go-to, but I stay away from you know that movie Solo.
Yeah.
I
Star
stay
Wars.
away from movies like that.
Wait, are you talking about Solo Star Wars?
No, 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 no. The Indian movie Solo.
Oh. Oh no,
It
I
was
don't
that.
think
It was
I've
great.
watched it.
It's.
Okay.
I don't like stories which are long and narrative and
Okay.
just don't seem to stop. So I don't like movies like that. But I
Yeah.
think really funny ones like any rom com is great any time of the day.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
I
yeah.
do commend you on the South Indian choice. I mean, right now I've probably watched more Malayalam movies and Tamil movies than I have English ones. Um, like off late, I feel like
Hmm.
anytime it comes up on Netflix or Hotstar or Net or Prime, okay,
Hmm.
let's check what the plot is first. Then obviously the actors, and then we see it. So
Yeah, I know. I've actually just been watching movies recommended to me. I don't go out of my way to look for them. But yeah, I mean, lucky for me, both my parents have very good taste in films. So I think they just they watch it and they're like, oh my god, you have to watch this. It's so good.
yeah, so it started off with like that for me. So my folks would like say, "Why don't you watch this Malayalam movie?" And at that point, I was like, "Should I watch it?" And then I started watching it, and now it's like the opposite way. So I'd have probably watched it first, and it's sort of now back and forth. Like I would have, if I watched something first, I'd be like, "Oh, have you watched that?" It's like, "No, come and sit down and watch." I was like, "Okay." Or then if I haven't watched, then they're like, "Oh, watch this," and I'll be like, "Okay." All right. So let me then narrow it down. Top 5 South Indian films of all time.
Of all time, that's the worst question you can ask
Or
me.
favorite. I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean favorite top 5. I don't know. I guess 5 movies that you would recommend to someone.
Okay, fine. I mean, in no particular order or genre, I think Alaipaide.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, I
Classic.
mean, it's really sappy. I love it. No question
Oh,
asked. Okay.
yeah.
Then God, I love so many movies. Oh, okay. So crime thriller wise, I think I would fully recommend Thiruvangal Padinaru.
Okay.
It's a great movie. You should watch it. And then there is
Yeah.
also Visarana is great.
Okay.
Um, there are a lot of crime thriller uh,
Yeah.
recommendations in this. There's also this other movie called Iravukku Ayiram Kangal.
Okay.
That's great. I think feel good wise, I would recommend movies like Dil Chahta Hai, Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara, Dil
Not South
Dharakne Do.
Indian.
All of those are like they're such
Bollywood.
like feel good movies, right?
Yeah.
Then
You
I
got one
think
more.
I mean I can go on. Okay,
Yeah.
I say five, that it's most probably not the best five. I have probably a lot more lined up which I can't think of right now. I have too many movies in mind. You gotta narrow it down even.
Okay. Uh,
Oh wait,
ooh,
Malayalam. There's also, I mean, Malayalam feel good movies, Premam,
yeah.
Backward Days,
Oh, yeah.
all of the general classics. But I think other than that, in Malayalam, I really like Trance.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I love the first half. The second half became very Bollywood in a way.
A little bit, yeah.
A little
But
bit.
it
Yeah.
was great. I think
Yeah.
it had me hooked, so I was invested in that story the whole time. Forensic is a fantastic movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's creepy.
Uh,
That soundtrack is creepy.
the
I
soundtrack's
kid.
really creepy, but it's a fantastic story. So I
Yeah.
think that's a
Um,
really.
have you watched Kumbalangi Nights?
I haven't. No, I have not watched it.
Okay. I think for me, I don't know, even if
I have,
I'm not even limiting it to South Indian, but I feel like that could be like one of the movies of that hooked me on first into Malayalam movies, and like that became like I have recommended it to a lot of people. So that is one crazy movie that you need to watch.
yeah. No, so see, I've been recommended that movie for a while. I just kept putting it out, and I was
No,
like,
you
oh
should
my
just
God,
get to that. Yeah.
yeah, I
Um,
should.
okay. All right. So we've got TV, movies, all of that sorted out. What about anything else like music and stuff? You obviously said books off late, but I
Oh,
wouldn't
late, yeah.
probably, yeah, wouldn't ask you for your top five yet. As in,
Yeah, no, no, not yet. Let's not go to books yet because it's a very recent. I will see how long it lasts, though. I mean, it's been
but
on for
any
a while.
genre in books?
Oh, I've actually just been reading very sport-oriented books. I read
Okay,
this. There's actually this really nice book that I think I would recommend. It's called Under the Lights, and it's called Amongst the
I love
Stars.
the fact that you can recommend a book that you
I
don't know the
forgot. I
name.
forgot the name of the book. It's about. It's so the catchline is that it's about the untold stories of women's football.
Okay,
It has the story of Nadia Nadeem. It has the story of Ali Long in the underground football world. It has a lot of stories. Um, the it's called.
Under the Lights and in the Dark,
Thank you. In
Untold
the dark. Okay,
Stories.
Under the Lights and in the Dark. Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, yes, that's the
Awesome.
one. So that's a really good book, and I think I would recommend that to anybody who's trying to understand the other side of women's football that they don't see on television. So that's a really good read. I've been reading. I read Relentless because I'm in season and I have to get in the zone of winning games. Relentless by Tim Grover.
Okay.
It's a great book if you wanna start motivating yourself, getting into playing and all that. I've been by recommendation of my father. I've been reading Psychology of Money because
Fair
it's just
enough. That's a great, good enough hint. Like hint. I bet
it's such a dad book to recommend. Okay,
like on the first page, it's like, did you get the hint?
did you get this
Like,
from your dad or yes?
yeah.
Yeah, I did, and that's a great book. It's just been that on and off. Other than that, I don't wanna. There are not too many books that I've actually finished to get through it. I start and then I get bored and I stop
Okay.
because
Fair
I'm a
enough.
better podcast or I'm very visual and audio in my
Audio.
communication. So I think even with writing, it's a little difficult for me. I would rather speak and
Yeah.
listen and stuff. So
I used to like writing. I really like writing still, but the thing is, with the podcast, I felt like it's just so much easier.
yeah,
Um, yeah, because I used to have like this blog that I have. So I used to write quite a bit often.
oh
So it's a restaurant review site, if that makes
oh
sense. Yeah. So I review restaurants the two places that I've actually lived for a little while. So that was Dubai and Bangalore. So reviewing
okay,
restaurants there.
right.
But yeah, it's been a while since I've written because it just feels like a writer's block of sorts. Like you can just get bogged down after a while, and the podcast seems a little easier to speak about.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so my writing right now is limited to the recipe site that I have, where I cook and I just write stuff about
nice.
it. But yeah, I can understand that. So, music wise,
Oh, I don't have any particular genre or anything that I am. too hooked on to. I listen to all kinds of music, and
That's
I think with music it depends on my mood.
fine.
There are times when I'm in like an absolute hard rock mood, and then there's another time when I'm in like a totally low Sam Smith.
Okay.
So
Fair
it
enough.
keeps varying, and I think music, for me at least, it is a little bit of a mirror of how I feel, and it helps that way, because the time when I listen to music a lot is either when I'm alone at home trying to get some work done,
Yeah.
trying to get chores done so I don't sound monotonous, or when I'm riding my bike. So uh, absolute mundane monotonous tasks, I really need music. I cannot get through it without music. I don't know how people drive without listening to
Oh
anything.
no, I can't. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, what do? You just stare into space?
yeah. Even
Yeah,
if
no,
there's someone there with me, I will still have the. I've got my Spotify playlist hooked onto my car, and I would play it. I
yeah,
obviously put songs where I can sing to. If I'm alone in the car, best just sing along. So
yeah,
carpool karaoke by yourself. If with friends, then they join in as well. So it's even
yeah.
more fun.
Yeah, that's
So
that's that's actually nice. So that's what I think. Indian indie, rock, the 80s, the 90s. I love
okay,
all of
can
them.
I ask you for your top 5 bands here?
Good Lord, why you got me doing this?
Favorite ones?
Okay, so rock, 100% AC/DC.
Yes.
Uh, then, and I think a little bit of the Queen as well. Uh,
Of course.
of course, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
just the classics. With indie, I love the Local Train.
Okay.
They're fantastic. I've also started to independent artist wise. There's this guy. His name is, I think, I'm not sure. I think his name is Mithilas or something.
Okay.
He has a couple of independent standalone songs. Very nice. I will send you links after this.
Yes.
Uh, I think other than that, any of the recent pop like feel good music. Um, Bands wise, not really that many. I think only rock I've actually followed properly a band.
Fair enough.
Other than that, I because of rock, I think and because of like music classes, I think eventually I got into Carnatic progression,
Yes, of course.
which is
I was
something.
getting to that. I was going to get to that towards the end. Of course, it had to come up. Right. Yeah.
Yes, yes, it did. It did. I was forced into learning Carnatic music. And post that, I was actually forced. I mean, I was not forced as much. I sort of chose to learn the keyboard. I was supposed to learn the drums, and then
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it was unanimously decided that it was a guy's instrument. It
I.
was a Yeah. That's just the way my family felt at that point. So now they don't, and now they're like, "Hey, why don't you pick up a new instrument? Why don't you learn the drums?" Like, this is something that should have been thought of when I was 14 or 15, but now
Yeah.
I'm 25. But it's still, I mean, it's okay. I think I might
The
just
thing with the keyboard is that it can fit easily into any tiny space. The drums are like, I need to invest in that bigger space now.
no
Um,
fair, but I
keyboard
think
is
the basics of a drum set you can play anywhere, like a
yeah,
clap box or anything. So I think,
but it's the
anyways,
noise.
I mean, I might just get into percussion sometimes, learn a new instrument. But right now, football just takes up a lot of my
Fair
time.
enough. Yeah.
As it should. I'm happy for it too. Yeah. So I think music wise, that's pretty much it. Agam is great in Carnatic progression. There's
Okay.
actually this really nice. Uh, it was recommended to me by a friend, and eventually I realized my mom's a big fan of them as well. They're called the Raga Harmony. They
Okay.
You
Might have
might
heard
know
of
them.
them.
They
Yeah.
basically take very traditional Carnatic music and they add their own twist to it,
Mm-hmm.
with whatever instrument. It doesn't have to be rock based, but with whatever they make a little bit of it slightly pop oriented. And it's nice.
Yeah.
It's very nice. The way that they've reimagined it is very nice. So that I am a huge fan of Coke Studio.
Okay. Yeah.
Coke Studio Pakistan. I think Coke Studio
Yeah.
Pakistan has better music.
Is. Yeah.
1000% better music.
I would agree.
Yeah, I love Coke Studio Pakistan. Been following them from I think about season 6 or 7.
Mm.
We're in season 14 right now. So
Okay. Yeah, I don't follow, but I've heard this stuff and they're quite very, very good.
yeah, great music. And I mean, I think watching reels a lot lately has just got me into knowing recent latest pop music. So anything fun to dance to, I'm all game.
All right, great. So I want to ask you also one more thing.
Yeah.
So concerts, have you been to many? And if so, yes or no? Like, as in, do you like them? Yes or no?
Not. I've not been to too many. The main concerts that I've been to are the ones that happen in IIT Madras.
Okay.
So IIT Madras has a huge festival called Sarang. Uh,
Yeah.
it used
Yeah.
to be called the Mardi Gras, but then it became Sarang.
Hmm.
Basically, they invite big names in the music industry to perform. So I've been to a Shankar Mahadevan concert, a Farhan Akhtar concert, a bunch Salim Suleiman, but all of these Bollywood stars. And I've been to one A.R. Rahman concert.
Okay. Nice.
Mostly, I don't like EDM concerts because
Fair
it
enough.
just, as a music, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Unless like you're just dancing in a club or something like that. But so yeah, other than that, not too many concerts per se. I think that's about it. It's limited.
Okay. All right. Great. Uh, so let's talk about now. Obviously, since I known you, I've you've told me that you did move from Chennai to Bangalore now for
Yep.
football reasons and all of that, work reasons. How's the change been? Has it been like a huge sort of culture shock, or is it just because it's South India, not much change?
Culture-wise, there is a stark change. Also, there is a little bit of balance, which helps me navigate it. At least in 2019, it helped me navigate through a lot. Initially, of course, it was hard because I was through 4 years of college, staying at home, leaving everything and coming out here. Initially, it was a little difficult, but I'm not somebody, I think through all these state camps and everything, you just learn to live by yourself. So I was very comfortable living by myself. And I also think that I've come to really like Bangalore a lot as a place, not the geographic location and like just how it's structured. Just the people in Bangalore are great.
Okay.
The general culture, I think, is also very, I think, I would say youth oriented and I think very open minded. So I don't think Chennai is there yet. I think
Yeah.
it's there in a few pockets in the city, but I think the rest of Chennai is still fairly conservative. So I think it's nice also in Bangalore when you come here and you realize that majority of the population isn't from Bangalore at all.
Yeah.
Uh, but
Which they don't like.
but yeah, it's
But yeah.
fun. It's fun. It's been a lot of fun. I think the independence of it is great.
In terms of socializing and all social life, how's it been? Because like from obviously you've got your gang at Sisters and Sweats, you've obviously got people around the same age as you who working in football, you've got your football friends as well. But like how often do you all socialize? What's the normal social scene like at Bangalore?
I mean, most of our social scene revolves around playing a pickup game of football and then going out for dinner,
Okay.
or do that in the morning and go out for breakfast or brunch. So I think football's pretty much helped me build a social life. Sisters and Sweat was my social life in 2019 and 20. Apart from my club team, of course, because I played in the Karnataka Women's League from 2019. This is my fourth season now. So yeah, I think the teammates that I made through the club team that I was playing for, I played for Parikrama FC, so I had really good friends in the club. And yeah, we'd always catch up after practice outside. We'd have breakfast together, lunch. I think bonding over a meal is always nice. So it was that, and then later, when once we got a lot closer, I think we started partying together as well. So that was fun. But I'm not too much of like a rager kind of party person. But I'm not really the person who would sit in the corner either. I think I find a balance.
Fair enough.
Uh, yeah, so I think other than that, it's mostly been football. People I met through Sisters and Sweat, school friends, a few of them who are still here. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Where in Bangalore do you stay? Which locality are you in?
So I live near Domlu, near Indranagar.
Oh, so you're in the heart of
Right
the
now, I
city.
used to. Yeah, I used to live in Koramangala, but
That's also
yeah, I was.
equally.
It's always been central because I think another thing is that the stadium is very close by. The Bangalore football stadium, right? So I think any decision that I took just centered around football. So I just realized that the stadium is here. Okay, I should be around here to play. I should just live around this side of town. And everything just fell into place right after that.
Yeah, so I mean, those two areas are prime for having a social life without having to travel too far, and you don't want to travel too far in Bangalore anyway, given the traffic. So yeah, I think Indiranagar and Korma, you couldn't hit any better places for having any sort of social life. Yeah, all the best restaurants and pubs are there, so uh, that works well for you. All right, so I suppose the next question that I have for you is, let's talk about your upbringing, because you have probably, I was not wouldn't say strange or weird, but you had a different upbringing to what most girls or women have had. Given that you're in football, not many women or girls have their parents are actively encourage them to pursue those career choices, right? So
Yeah.
as a kid, how did that happen? Like,
Yeah.
how encouraging were your parents? Like, you did mention that your mom tried to put you through all sort of sporting activities. So yeah, just talking about that.
Yeah, so I think one thing here is that both my parents are actually not sports people at all, and they're not inclined in sport. And I think that was one of their main reasons to get me into it in the first place. At least I think that's pretty much what my mom wanted. I think she's told me this as well, that it's sport has always been good because it's a good way to build. You understand how to work with the team. You learn a sport. You also learn a skill. You get some fitness in. So it's always there's nothing you're losing out of here. Probably the risk of injuries, but she wasn't really worried about all that at that point. But yeah, I think that was one of the main reasons why she put me into sport. And I think after that, I just picked up on it and I really enjoyed it myself. I think that was fairly inherent to my character. I've always liked stepping out. I hate sitting at home for too long. But right now, I just do on like days off, I'm just a couch potato. I don't leave
It
my
does happen.
vicinity.
Yes,
I
yes.
don't leave my 10 into 10 space. But
Welcome
yeah,
to
I
the
think
dark
other than
side.
that, but I think now I've sort of found that I'm either in season waking up at 5 a.m. or I'm on a Sunday at 10 a.m. not getting out of bed. There is no in between.
Okay.
So I think for me it's I've been into sport. I both my parents they put me into sport, but I think academics were a non-negotiable. You had to study, you had to do well because also there wasn't much of an alternative to carrying out a career in professional sport, right? And also there wasn't really any awareness on the fact that what, hey, I could play the sport and end up earning money from this, and we're still not there. I
Yeah.
think I would say that even in India, I don't think even only the top 1 or 2% of the players who are already in the national circuit can say that they make a living truly out of playing the sport. I don't think even the other girls who are in the national team can say that about their careers. It's because as an industry, I think for women's football, we're not there yet, right? So because that inhibition was always there, I think it made sense. There wasn't any awareness. There was also a lot of fear in terms of sending your kids off to camp and then like, hey, no contact. What do we do? How do we speak to them? And of course, like phones were there, and you could call them up. But again, it's that apprehension for people who aren't very sport inclined through their life that always comes up.
Yeah, your parents seem like the most jolly people who have said, like, let her go somewhere. I really don't care. Like, don't have phones, fine, no, not an issue. I can also picture the conversation going like,
Yeah,
your
no,
mom.
not at all. I think
Uh, Hi, can you hear me? Yeah,
yeah, no,
I
it
can.
was breaking a little. Could you just repeat that last bit?
No, no, no. I didn't say anything. I was just trying to say hi. Uh, so I can also picture your mom kind of telling you, go break a leg, and then you're like, you're kidding, right? And then you both having the staring competition, like, you're kidding, right? And it's like, yeah, doesn't
No,
matter.
no,
She
no.
can do
So I
whatever
think
she
it was
wants.
a little bit of he- no, no, no. So I think it was a little bit of my mom wanted me to get into sport, get hurt, put me. So you know how you're learning how to ride a bike and
Yeah.
you get hurt, and she's like, yeah, yeah, it's fine. Just blow some air on it. It'll be fine, right? So I think it was that, but also when it came to physically getting stronger, that is something she was always down for. But I don't. The only thing I think was hard was how do you balance academics and sport. So I think that always got in the way because that's sort of what pushed me into taking up engineering. I studied. I sat through 4 years of it, and then I completely quit and pivoted. Right. So yeah,
Yeah. That's not, I mean, that's not new though. In today's world, that's not new. I
not
think
exactly. It's not.
10
You
years
just do
ago,
it.
then people
It's
will be
like
like,
a
what are
code.
you saying?
Yeah. It's a code. You get a degree and then especially an engineering degree and then you do whatever you want. That's like some
Yeah.
norm. And I don't know why that's the norm, it just is.
Yeah. Like you've got a backup, I suppose, given the nascent stage of women's football industry in India. I suppose having an engineering degree is sort of a good backup to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, I suppose once it does hopefully improve, then you shouldn't need to have that. So you could hopefully
Yeah.
go in with that uh, mindset that you can get a good, well-paying job as a footballer or
For
whatever.
sure. No, for
So
sure.
yeah, I just want to talk about Sisters in Sweat as well. Like, how did that come about?
So I actually met Tanvi in Chennai.
Mhm.
Um, and I followed her for a bit on Instagram and just knew about the football industry, especially the women's football industry in India is fairly small, right? So you just see a lot of videos that are shared, talked about, and I read about her. She was the first Indian women to go play in England in Tottenham Hotspur and Fulham. So and it was all over the news. It was really exciting to see that somebody had actually gone there, and I'd met her in Chennai and in actually in a movie shoot. We were part
Okay.
of this movie called Bigil, and
Oh,
we were the
really?
yeah we were part of Bigil. They made so they basically needed footballers like real footballers to shoot the actual football scene so that it doesn't look too fake.
Kudos to
Um,
them. Um, well, at least that's some
yeah,
effort. Yeah.
yeah. So they actually got in a few footballers from Bangalore and Chennai and pretty much all over the country. They got some Manipuris who are in the football circuit. They got some girls from Delhi and all that. So I met her there and we just got to talking. She was telling me about Sister and Sweat, about how it's been for her after coming back to India. And yeah, and that's about it. And I spoke to her and I said, hey, this sounds like a lot of fun. I'd love to intern. And that's it. I just took a one-way drop to Bangalore, came, saw Sisters in Sweat session, decided that for the next 6 months, this was around August of 2019,
Okay.
just decided that for the rest of the year, I'm just going to try interning here. But the thing is, it was really small. Sisters in Sweat wasn't even incorporated at that point. It was just about getting into having a website and all of that stuff. It was just operating out of a WhatsApp group back then. So joined in, and that wasn't enough. So apart from playing, I interned at Decathlon as well because it just by default when you're getting into the sport industry, just go intern at Decathlon. It's the most basic,
Yeah. I
like
love that. Yeah.
basic thing that you can do. It's like an
It's
entry
like
level
it's like
thing.
if I'm waiting table or if I'm trying to going to manage a restaurant, I need to serve fries at McDonald's first.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think getting into the sporting industry, you just work a part-time shift at Decathlon. You'll sort of, I think it also gives you a little nice insight into how sales and everything
Yeah.
works, how you talk to people and you work shifts and all that. So that was a good experience. 4 to 6 hours a day there, a couple like 2 to 4 hours at Sister and Sweat, and then another 2 hours at practice. That was pretty much how my day went. I'd like I like to keep my days packed. So by the end of it, all I have to do is, eat, sleep, and just recover for the next day. That was pretty much how it was going. And after that, turn 2020, I knew that Satswat was going pretty well. So I stopped interning at Decathlon. I focused on playing. I got injured around that time, which is why I couldn't play the IWL and I ended up commentating. So all overlapping around the same
Yeah.
time. But yeah, I think then the pandemic struck, but Southern Sweat sort of stayed. We didn't stop. We shifted to the online platform, kept growing the community, and then it became a full-time job for me. I was handling all sport operations, and I currently head operations in Bangalore.
Nice, nice. That sounds really cool. Like just out of the blue, you meet someone at work, and yeah, that's the
Yeah, I
thing.
mean, yeah, I think back then I had a proper fangirl moment because I only knew Tanvi through Instagram and YouTube videos and all of that, right?
Oh
So you
yeah,
finally get to meet the
it's like
person. So
Instagram stalker. My Instagram. So you're the one. You're the one sending me those DMs. Like, oh yeah, fair enough.
I never once slid into her DMs, by the way.
Fair play. Uh, all right. Yeah. And so the one thing I forgot to mention earlier was you said you like to travel and trek and all of that. So what's your like what's your ideal sort of travel weekend like, or where would you, or okay, that, and also again I'm going to throw top fives at you. So five, rather than your top five places that you've been to, top five places that you want to visit at some point in your life that you haven't already.
Ooh. Okay, that's
Countries,
interesting
places,
because
anything. Yeah. So
yeah, for sure. I think I want to visit the Northeast. I have
okay.
never been there. I've interacted with a lot of people from there, but I've realized I've never physically been there. So I want to do an entire Northeast trip. Then I think in India, Northeast and Kashmir are two things that I've never done.
Okay.
So that's for sure. Apart from that, I would like to visit a rainforest at some point. So maybe whether it's India or even abroad through the Amazon, I don't know. Hopefully, I get to do that someday.
Yeah.
Uh, I would really like to go to Europe and watch a football game. Hopefully, like a Women's World Cup soon. But I think it's happening in Australia next year, so I might just go there. I hope
Okay.
I get to go there.
Okay.
Um, and apart from all of these, I think Thailand. Just because
Okay.
everyone's going, I'm just curious right now.
Okay.
Yeah, too many people are talking about Thailand. I just want to go. I want to see what's the big.
I suppose it is easier from India to go there. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. That's a fairly spread out itinerary. But any place in Europe, like you mentioned Europe, but just to watch a football game, or any place in particular you've always.
Um. No, I think if I go to Europe, I would never do a thing where I just pick one place. I would preferably see all of Europe because I think it's like the size of
It's
South
a wide
India.
place, but it's
So might as well go everywhere. But I would really like to go and watch a game in the Wembley and a game in Alliance Arena.
okay. Nice. So Munich and London.
Munich and London.
Those are nice choices as well. Interesting. Okay, that. But as a whole, I mean, rainforest. We've got Europe. We've got the Northeast. Actually, the Northeast could have rainforest, don't they? Meghalaya.
No,
That's
the
it.
Northeast doesn't have a rainforest. I think it's the Sundarbans are a little
So,
towards Bengal.
yeah, actually, yeah. That I should know. I'm probably going there December. Uh,
Okay.
so yeah. Okay. Interesting. That sounds cool. Actually, Northeast is a place that even I haven't been to. That is always on my
Yeah.
bucket list, but like you'd never really think of going that side. But yeah, this time in December, the plan is with the folks to go to with my family to go to Sundarbans and then Kaziranga as well, because
Oh, nice.
my sister's got a wedding in Guwahati, so we thought we'd just do that,
Ah,
and then we have to
nice.
come back all the way from there. We have to come back all the way to Kerala for another wedding, and then it's like, okay, now enough. December's. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
for me. It's like Bangalore, Calcutta, Calcutta, Guwahati, Guwahati, Kerala, Kerala, Bangalore, Bangalore, Dubai. It is.
Oh,
It
damn.
is.
That's
Yeah.
a long set of travel.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, but travel is fun. I think though these 2 years though that we missed out on is like, oh, so bad. But yeah,
Yeah, it is.
I do agree.
I think this is
Uh,
the longest I've gone without traveling anywhere. I think through school, I
uh,
used to constantly, I think once every 2 months, I just go somewhere. Even if it's about, if it's close by, just for a normal school tournament,
okay.
or if it's like the district championship or the state championship, you would still go somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Since the pandemic, I've been to Chennai and back to Bangalore, and to
Yeah.
Chennai and then back to Bangalore again.
I same.
Oh,
I've
and
been
I was in, okay, so but I was in Kerala once for the senior nationals last year. So
that triangle. Yeah. I even for me, it's been like Dubai, Bangalore, Bangalore, Dubai. I did one trip to
that was
Bangalore for a friend's wedding, but Dubai, Bangalore. That's the only thing that I've done because 2 years of not being to Bangalore and meeting the family there, uh, like the grandparents and the uncles, aunts, all of that. I had to go meet.
yeah.
But yeah, so that's only been my only trip has been to India. Been missing out on going out to the other places, but hopefully soon. I thought with the World Cup coming, at least Qatar would be checked off, but there are no tickets, so forget about
Oh
it.
my God.
Um,
I actually assume that you just go to Qatar because you live right.
yeah, I assume. So the thing is, yeah, we tried it. On the day that they opened up the portal to book tickets, I was there at least 10 to 15 minutes before they actually opened the portal because they tell you the time. So I was there and I had to wait for 3-4 hours before I could actually access the portal.
Whoa.
And then there's like only wheelchair access and then some really weird. I mean, the matches that I wanted to go for, they weren't there. So we're like, just leave it. It doesn't really make sense. Because it was like friends. And then we thought of flights. Obviously, now there will be cheaper flights. At that point, it was expensive. We thought then we'll probably drive it down from my place to Qatar. It's actually only 6 hours.
Oh,
You but have to go through
that's
Saudi, and then,
really nice.
yeah, but then it is a little bit of a headache because I do need a Saudi visa, then I need a Qatar visa, and then that becomes a
Ah,
little headache. But apart from that, yeah. So we had that whole plan that just got dumped, and you're like, okay, at least we saved up save cash for that. Then the next plan was to use that cash and go watch the Formula One race. Then we in Abu Dhabi, and then we delayed that for so long that those tickets also got sold out. We're like, okay, great.
shit.
So now
That's too many misses.
yeah, and now we use those whatever we've saved some more, and then we've like whatever uh we now there's a concert that's happening in Abu Dhabi, no, in Dubai itself. So this band called Two Cellos. They what they
Okay.
do is that they cover hard rock music, pop music, all of that, but only with cellos. So like two guys, two Croatian dudes on cellos. I saw them live in the UK. They're insane, but I couldn't watch the full thing because I had a train to catch towards the end, so I couldn't watch the full thing. And now they're coming to Dubai as part of their final tour. They're then kind of disbanding to do their own personal stuff. So
Okay.
they're doing that, and then maybe or may not be the Lion King musical is in Abu Dhabi as well. So let's see. But
Yeah.
yeah, then and there's some other people coming, which I don't think we're going for. Like I think Post Malone's coming, and then Sting is coming. So, like we see, but doubt it. But yeah, that's
Cool.
about it. I don't know how from travel we ended up here, but we did. Uh, yeah, I guess. I mean that's great, and I guess that's as good a time to call it a day before we start another session of this. But thank you, Mithila, for being a part of this very special interview and this special series. I'm glad that we could have you on here, and it was fun talking to you about everything but football. Even though we did sort of touch upon it, but not about the regular football that we talk. So thank you for being on here. It was fun chatting with you, and I hope to host you now onto our proper podcast soon
For
if
sure.
time
Thanks for having me,
permits.
Brad. Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. I think now that the main season leagues have started, uh, definitely in the upcoming matches, I'm happy to, let's do another podcast. Maybe
Yep.
even about the US tour at the Wembley.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Definitely.
yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me. I had a lot of fun talking today. It's
Yeah.
refreshing.
Yeah, it's different. That's the reason, man. I normally only talk football to you and anyone else who comes into the podcast. So this is just a refreshing take on just talking about lives, and we've probably got more similar lives. Watch predominantly the same TV shows and movies, and yeah, so it's stuff like that where you kind of realize that you've got a lot more in common with people that you've interviewed in the past, but just with football now, it's just more in general life.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for lending at least an hour of your time on this. And yeah, can't wait to host you in the near future. And to those of you watching us or listening to us, please do hit the like button, comment down below, subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. And if you're watching it on YouTube, you can also listen to the audio podcast on any of the podcast platforms that you listen to. So listen on, so Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, you name it, we're there. All you need to type is "for football's sake" and you'll get us. Um, Leave a rating. Let us know if you want to be a part of the podcast as well, and then eventually that will lead you down to being on this similar series in due course. Hopefully, as long as the podcast remains. And yeah, I'll catch you all on our next episode. But that's it for episode number 4 of season 1 of the Dressing Room series. I'm your host, Brady, once again. You have a good evening and see you.